Hello, we're live in the bathroom. Little cacao smoothie with some chocolate nibbies. Nibble, nibble, nibble. So I just thought I'd go live, let you know what I've been up to. I'm in the bathroom, hence the echo, echo, echo. Anybody hear an echo? I have taped over the big mirror because probably what I've been most concerned about doing is this last little strip of all these little glass tiles. And if you've ever done any form of grouting, it is a lot more tedious and a lot more work than it looks. Let me know in the comments if you've ever done this yourself. Because what looks like, oh, I'll get that done, no problem. You gotta like push that grout in. You gotta smooth it out, make sure there's no bubbles, no air pockets. Hi Sherilyn, how are you? So, I've pre-mixed, see that's the other thing. With glass tiles, you gotta use unsanded grout. And this is the extra white, so it makes it nice and bright. And I've done all of this in like 2-3 days. And I started trying to finish this like a year and a half ago, and I got the one wall done, half of it. I got some other areas. I got around the most important thing, the shower, so it wasn't leaky, right? But I finally got a little bit of a kickstart into this, which is awesome because you know what? I've been kind of like, I gotta, like priorities and things. You're like, oh, can I fit that into my schedule? And so what I've been doing is trying to get the detail work, like the little bubble spots, and this last section. So this last section, what I'm going to do, see this? It's nice and thick too. Aww, thank you, Sherilyn. And so finishing this bathroom is going to be huge because I don't know about anybody else out there, but the bathroom is like the sanctuary as well as the bedroom and the kitchen. Okay, so I probably spend the least amount of time in the bathroom because I used to do more bubble baths and Epsom salt baths, but bedroom for certain because it's all about comfort, and I'm a lion, I'm a Leo, so I'm all about where I am in my den, like, don't disturb me if I'm sleeping. I don't know about anybody else, but if I'm in a slumber, it's got to be something really sweet to wake me up. Because if you wake me up, the lion's roar is not something anybody wants to handle or deal with, right? Anybody else out there deal with this? So, going back to the bathroom, because that's where we are. When I first set out on this project, I'm going to tell you my colors that I wanted was seafoam blues and greens and like that. Because I'm in Florida, because I'm all about being next to the water. So my focus was to find tiles in that area, that color palette. But for some reason, and I'm a white person anyway, I like a lot of white, I ended up with these really sweet rosy mauves and clear, and well, let me tell you, when the light hits this, I'm so excited because first off, these glass tile windows that I had replaced, they let in rainbows. So before I finished all the tile work, putting them on the wall, it was like the light coming in the morning, it became a prism of all these dancing rainbows on the walls. Now it still does it, but now we have this iridescence off of these particular tiles because each of these tiles has its own like rainbow prism action going on. And when I bought the tiles initially, I thought I was going to have enough of these. I think these are the 5.5 inch squares of the glass with just the clear with the iridescence. Now, first off, they're out of order, stock, what have you. So then I was looking around going, well, what about, I literally had to go and find more tiles. So I ended up with these white ones. And when I bought these, they were the last to stock. And these 2 boxes that I bought, I thought I had all white, which is why this very top layer, you can't see all of it. You can probably only see this part here, is not the same coloring. So there's 2, 4, 6 tiles that are not the white. And I really wanted the white because they bring out this pretty pinkish with the rainbow prismy effect. And unfortunately, they didn't have what I needed. And it's all good. You got to do with what you got, right? So we're going to finish up this last section around the mirror. Now, I taped this a couple days ago, and my biggest concern was that I did not want to get any grout on the actual glass itself, because to wipe the grout out is a pain in itself. So then all I should have to do is remove, that'd be the toilet, y'all. I have an old toilet system here, but it's kind of cool because it works on gravity. So because it's a beveled glass mirror, I have to go behind the actual glass itself, as well as all these little tiles. So if you've never done this before, you've got to dip your what is this thing called again? I don't remember. There's a name for it. I'll tell you what it is. It's a float. This is considered a float. See that? That's a float. So you take the float and you get your grout on. This is kind of cool. And you go up in and you push it into the grooves. Now that in itself sounds easy, except for that when you start moving it around, because you've got to go in different directions while you're doing it. You've got to go up, down, side, up, like you've got to get it in between. And because these are glass and there's grooves within the glass, you have to, it takes a little bit just getting them off the glass. So if you don't mind just watching, I will show you how it's done. And this is what happens. I just wipe down, you use a sponge to wipe it down to kind of clean off the grout. And I've done that a lot already. And I do this in layers because it dries rather quickly, especially since this bathroom is not really, really well ventilated. Again, this is Florida. So, we've come into a summer heat wave, Indian summer, as we were joking the other day. Seems just as hot, if not hotter, than it has been all summer. So because these tiles are also on different levels, I have to do it just right. And I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is kind of meditative to me. So while I'm doing that, it's like my mind goes through different scenarios, and my mind's on all sorts of stuff. I posted earlier something about women, and it wasn't that I was feeling any particular way, but I was feeling like us as women, there's a lot of inner soul guidance, searching. We're all trying to find our way. And I remember thinking to myself when I was in the Air Force, I used to look at people and I'd see these patterns. So this is kind of messy. I don't usually get this messy. We get these old patterns like our parents, we were taught we're supposed to get, whoops, oh. Did I mention I get a little messy as I go? We get caught up in these old patterns. For example, you thought, I'm supposed to grow up and get married and have the white picket fence and all these other crazy scenarios. Let me tell you, I never bought into it. In fact, I thought, if anything, I really wanted my own life and my own, individualism, and I really wanted to find myself. And I knew that as a young woman, that I didn't want to get married too soon because I wanted to know who I was. And I think too often what happens is because we buy into stories, we end up in situations that we're resentful of. We don't even understand why. So while I was in the Air Force, watching different patterns around me, I'd see people who were unhappy, they'd gotten married, their life hadn't turned out quite the way they wanted it to. And through witnessing it, it was my own way to go, wow, okay, I get that. I can see it from the outside. And I have compassion, and that really helped serve me as a lesson by witnessing in another that maybe that wasn't the route for me. And I think it's very common And sometimes we're running away from things. I mean, even in my life, I just wanted to get the heck out of a small town. I went in the Air Force because I wanted to travel. I didn't want to necessarily have to rely on anybody else. I was always very independent across the board. I mean, me just asking someone for help has always been a chore. And so if I ever ask somebody for help, it's not because, you know, like that's my mode of operation. In fact, if anything, it's a compliment to the individual if I'm ever asking. So, you know, just some things I was reflecting upon, just the fact that, and I know the same for men. I mean, what is it for men? I mean, the things that I remember is that men are supposed to be providers, and then, you know, they're supposed to have an heir, they're supposed to have a little boy to carry on the name. These were the things that I remembered hearing growing up. You know, these are the stories we bought into or were told, and whether it was through stories and Disney World or, you know, like all these different fables. You know, we're supposed to find Prince Charming and he's supposed to take care of us, and we're, you know, nobody ever talks about the part after they get married. There's so many farces in life. We have to figure it out for ourselves. Definitely can look at somebody else and witness and maybe learn through their experience, but we won't know till we make our own choices, is what I've found. So, and then I was even reflecting upon how, you know, it's really easy for people to say things like, you know, just get over this, just get over that. You know, my mom passing, or the idea that I'm trying to take this mess up, that we should just be able to move forward in life. And, you know, there's so many injustices that have been done against women, against children, against different minorities, what have you. But you know what, to tell somebody, you know, from a place where they've never encountered it, that, well, we're all equal, so we should just be able to get along and go through life, and, you know, this airy-fairy idea does not exist. We're all human. And, you know, it's very insulting to tell someone, well, you know, we're all one, so we should be able to move forward. We know better. And it's like, okay, where are you coming from? Are you coming from a place that you've experienced or witnessed it in your own life? Or are you in a place where maybe you don't know, maybe you just speaking because it makes you feel better to be able to say something that you don't have any real first-hand knowledge on? I mean, I've done that in my past, and I'm not exactly proud of it, but having been through my own experiences, I'm learning that we don't know another person's experience. So you can never tell somebody, well, just get over it and move on, you know? Like, that's totally, in fact, if anything, it's insulting and a slap in the face to the individual who's ever experienced it. So I was thinking about my mom and how growing up, you know, we used to always hear I wish, you know, I hope what happened to me never happens to you girls, because, you know, I want you girls to have a good life. And, you know, she had it rough. There was no question in my mind. But at the same time, you know, like, this is life. We're all trying to find our way. And so her saying that, you know, I didn't know what it meant, and then because it was her experience. And now, you know, over the years we kind of figured it out, and then when when she passed, and when we learned a lot through family, it was like, wow, you know, and I understand why people don't talk about things, because they're fearful of rejection, they're fearful that people will judge them, they're fearful that someone's gonna not love them just because of what they experienced. And so much needs to be talked about. You can't just sweep it under the rug. We've been doing that. That's the problem. And, you know, to use spirituality or to use so-called enlightenment as we're all just human, we're all just one, and so therefore we should all just accept it and move forward. Well, you know what? Those statements are usually coming from someone who's never experienced it. Or they're caught outside of themselves and literally do not get it. Like, they're in escapism, in my personal opinion. And I know that's judgmental of me to even say. because I'm judging the person who might be judging the situation and saying that. So like that is a reality, you know. But let's have a conversation, let's have a dialogue. I mean, that's what life is about, is if we talk about things, how can we can find ways to move forward and heal on all levels, man, woman, child, what have you, doesn't really matter, as long as you're open and willing to not only speak about it, but to listen to people who've experienced and had such situations, because it doesn't just go away. And we sometimes have to go through the discomfort to find the comfort in that way, right? So that's just my sharing, that's that little scenario. But yeah, I know, Erin, you heard a lot of my mom's talks. Yeah, I've been really reflecting on her. I mean, I have been for a while. You know, here in my area, a lot of my very close friends have lost their family members. Like, in the past couple of years, and even more so this year, seems I know more people who've lost their moms, or in one case is the fathers too. But you know, the mother is a hard one, because that's when you yourself as a woman, as women, we are now taking on that role of the next generation. We are carrying forth that torch, and that kind of like, oof, gives me like a chill and an awareness that, whoa, I keep making a little bit of a mess. You know, like seriously, like I'm having to step into that power. Who else is experiencing that, right? You gotta step into your power at some point in your life. Sometimes it's sooner and sometimes it's later. And you won't know it until you're there, right? When you're like, oh, I'm in the dredges, I'm gonna have to deal with this shit. And yes, I said it. Because that's life, you know? Life is not happening to you, though, it's happening for you. And I sometimes drop into my victim mode, but it's not as much as it used to be. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for anybody who's especially recently not at any time in your life lost a parent, I mean, it is like, whoa. And it is, you don't know what it's going to be like until you're experiencing it. Like, I totally had no idea. I mean, I did, because I kind of reflected on it over the years, but I wasn't ready for it this year, that's for sure. And if I could get her back, I would do it in a heartbeat. Oh, but she's there. And I have to kind of remind myself that she hasn't really truly gone away. But we are human, and again, we have emotions, so you gotta still honor and deal with them, right? Deal with those emotions. You can't suppress them. When you try to hide those emotions or just shove them down, they come back in your physical body, don't they? So, see, it's a lot more work than it looks, right? Oh, Vidal, our kitty cat. I remember that. You know, it's funny, I had a dream this morning with a kitten. Maybe that was the reminder. Because I remembered she had that little scratch. She'd been attacked by an animal when we were in Maine. And we had to kind of nurse her back to health. I remember that. Vidal, yeah, I remember that. Like literally you end up having to put some serious oomph into this, right? You know, I don't mind this. It's just, there's not a lot of airflow in this bathroom. There's just this little itty bitty vent. And so the only air conditioning, and with the lights and the heat from the sun outside, it kind of brings out in more. Yeah. My mom loved animals. We had a lot of animals growing up. We had cats and dogs. We had the coolest dog, Pooch. He kind of set the bar for all the animals we had later on in life. My first favorite cat was Pussy. We had goats and a bull and a heifer, you know, a cow and a male bull. And then we have the pony Joe. who is not a nice pony, by the way. Ponies apparently are not nice. I don't know why. You know, and this is the thing, you gotta make sure you get into the grooves, because if you don't, you end up with these bubbles. I'm trying not to have to go over and smooth it too much, because you gotta wait a few minutes, and then you take the wet sponge, and you gotta wipe it down, smooth it out. I know, right? Grouting is fun. Erin, I know you know it well. Let's see. Oh yeah. So what is everybody doing today on this Throwback Thursday? Oh. What did you want to be when you grew up? For some reason, I thought being a lawyer would be a good idea, because I used to be really good at arguing. Ask anybody in my past. Or my present. Have a great day at work. Love you too, hon. Yeah. But that's the thing. I guess I'm also kind of a spitfire. So I do feel that there's always more to, and I think that's my Libra rising, because what I find in life is that there's always a possibility that there's more to, right? So like, I like to learn, I like to explore, I like to try new things and be surprised and be delighted and be happy. Kelly, I know you've got a fire in you. I have no doubt about that, sister. Oof. So what I'm trying to do here, this is going to be messy as all get out, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. A little bit of dirt grout didn't hurt. Anybody? So you gotta like what I'm trying to do is make it so I don't have this huge mess to fix. I'm trying to do it as efficient as possible. I'm gonna tell you, this is the part that I knew was gonna be the most challenging, but not like really, really bad. It's just that I knew that this might take the most attention to detail. So as you can see, this is like really, really messy. You should see around, and I'll show afterward, the area around where the vanity goes. It's similar to this. It's a little bit wider. Same tile, same grout job. And I have to do some like fill-ins because there's some bubbles and some areas that need to be smoothed out and filled in. Because what happens is the grout shrinks. And when the grout shrinks, it might go deeper and you might need to fill it in more. And it's sure. Let's see here. So yeah, for me, when I do something like this, it becomes a meditation, because meditation is single-minded focus, meaning whatever you're doing, if your attention is on that is a meditation. So, that's why it's actually beautiful that if you're ever doing anything, you can be in that moment fully, if you allow yourself. That's what I'm finding. And it's always a work in progress, and it always takes a little bit of effort mentally, because that's the mind. Oh, does she? I wanted to get this one at an angle a little bit more, but maybe not. There we go. That's what I want. I'll have to do it over there some more. Let me know, what's your latest home remodeling or home improvements? What have you done? What do you do at home, right? Yes, doing renovations are fun and super rewarding. And once I'm done all of this, and then we drill in the vanity so it stays in place, I can go, the bathroom's done, right? So sometimes things take a little bit more time than you anticipate, but the rewards in the end, and the patience, the perseverance, devotion, and dedication to just getting it done is huge. Yeah, we all know life happens, so you can't get upset with yourself and go, oh, I should have had this done. Don't should on yourself. Like, that's our biggest problem, right? We should be our own best friend, not our own worst enemy. Most of the times that's easier to do, right? And I got a nice little surprise the other day. It seems my wonderful daddy-o, he came down, we went for a bike ride yesterday, and it seems there's another rad bike that was delivered, so guess what, y'all? Three's company too, come on, knock on my door, I got a rad bike in store, we're gonna go for a cruise, down the street for some views. We had a really nice lunch, and found this really rad little cafe down in downtown Clearwater called Carolyn's, all grass fed, so like if you still eat meat and all that wonderful stuff, everything organic, all gluten free, totally wonderful. Carolyn was a total charm and sweet woman. Dad loved it. I had quiche and a salad, and my dad had, and I had the vegetable quiche, and he had the quiche, what is it, the quiche Lorraine, or was it, yeah, Lorraine, the quiche Lorraine, yeah, which has some bacon or something in it. Awesome, wonderful, Linda, I love that. I know the block windows, I'm kind of tempted to go in and grout between those to kind of brighten it up, but I'm trying not to squirrel myself into more projects and more stuff. I'm just going to tidy up, like there's a couple on this wall right here. I have little holes that need to be filled in, just a couple. I might finger, like, fill them in with my finger and then wipe them with the sponge. I know I counted at least 3, because that's what I do when I'm sitting on the toilet looking at the walls, going, Anybody else do that? Where you look around going, what else needs to be done? Like, I'm really good at putting more stuff on my plate to do. Just like, all right, so we're gonna go over here. Trying to get this more on the tiles than I am on the plastic bag that I have taped up here. Sometimes that's a challenge in itself. Yeah. Awesome sauce. So I had already done this before I went, and I pushed the live button because that took several hours actually. So I pretty much did all of this, and what I'm about to finish might just take an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer. And I did this wall. I finished up over the toilet. Like I said, I'll show you when I'm done getting most of this done, because I think I can do this. I got this, right? Y'all got faith in me. You're all gonna kind of cheer me on to get this done within a good, reasonable hour's time. Because my intentions are, if you hadn't noticed, I still got day 7. And day 6 is actually planned a little bit. So there's a surprise involved in that. But I really want to get day 7 in there, because I've got those 2 cabinets in the kitchen to purge. So y'all can just tune into the group if you're paying attention to the declutter challenge. I noticed some beautiful pictures and I'm really impressed. I love when people join in. Makes it more fun, right? It makes it feel like you're doing it together. So this. Okay, that's gonna need more to push it in. Sometimes what happens is it looks like, oh yeah, it's filled in, and then next thing you know, it's like, no, it goes, and you get the bubble. Let's see how we're gonna do this. Yeah, and you gotta breathe too. You gotta remember to breathe while you're doing this. That in itself can be a challenge. It's okay if you get grout on the, I have a plastic shower curtain on the floor that's That's an old one. Just tuck it in the sides, it'll all go in. And the float will help. So what song's in your head? I have like mantra in my head right now. It's Ekumkar, Sadguru Prasad, Sadguru Prasad, Ekumkar, which when you say it 5 times is supposed to reverse the negative to the positive. So if you're in for the Go 24 Hours Without Complaining challenge, that in itself should keep you through the day. Just anytime your mind starts to go to a complaint or a negative thought, just go, Ekumkar, Sadguru Prasad, Sadguru Prasad, Ekumkar, Ekumkar, Sadguru Prasad, Sadguru Prasad, Ekumkar. You know, you gotta sometimes do that, right? I know I'm not the only one. You gotta keep that mind busy. Put in a beach mantra. Anything that is, you know, like distracting from your mind and the mind chatter is considered a bij, right? It's a seed. You're planting a seed for something better, which helps. Because I don't know about anybody else. Sometimes my mind can go on a tangent and I gotta kind of help guide it along to something a little bit more constructive. And I know we got a full moon coming up. My moon cycle started today too. I felt it coming on last night. I think I'm on a 2-week cycle again too. Have you ever been there? My air quality here is So Dad and I, when we were on the bike yesterday, we went over one of the canals on the bridge on the path, and I could smell it. First off, it was low tide, so it stinks usually about that time. But the thing is we have an issue with what they call red tide is really sewage dumping from St. Pete. So St. Pete does not have a system in place to pump out their sewage. They literally just dump it in the Gulf. And I've never understood that, but I've been told it's because that's what the governor did or whatever. I'm not going to complain about something like that. But because the bottom line is, you know, these are all things that we're responsible for, and we can make a choice to, you know, support or go against. We all have the opportunity to vote. So, and I'm grateful that I live in Clearwater, because it is a little stinky, but you got to be careful because you can actually inhale. It's more toxic to breathe in than it is to get it on your, you know, than anything else. And I personally, I'm just kind of sad that I can't go to the beach, but it's all good. That's not a complaint. I'm too busy anyway. So, yeah, tell me, Kelly, how's your air quality as far as where you're at? And anybody else who's in Florida and dealing with the algae bloom, tell me what your local environment is like. I know there's a lot of people who are really, really working on trying to find solutions. And I'm super, super grateful for those people who are in positions to be able to try to make things better for everyone else, because isn't that what it's about? You know, everyone's supposed to be for everyone. None of this just for myself thing, and I do believe that we are here to serve one another. And sometimes our capacities are better than others. So my strengths, your strengths, we eventually even out and balance. Isn't that what life is about? Is honoring and appreciating the strengths of everybody, recognizing one person's strength, and not saying you should be able to do something that you're not. Right. Beautiful. I'm still trying to get this smoothed out. See what I mean though? It does take a lot of patience to do something like this. Alright. Almost there. Oh wait. There's still a hole. It looks like more because of the mirror in the middle, this is good. Oh, that's good to hear, Kelly. Really good to hear. So I don't want to put too much. If you put too much, sometimes that can be even worse. So let's fill in these grooves. I'm just gonna have to just go straight on in there. I want to know if if anybody else has done this, and if you're as very particular about making sure you do it right the first time. It's one of the reasons when I had to stop because I had something come up, I remember that. And the only reason I didn't get back to it was because I knew how I wanted to get it right, and I knew it was going to take a little bit more time than you think. So, definitely tell me, what has your experience been with tile work? Is it one of your favorite things or not? Would you hire somebody to do this for you? See, that's what sometimes we pay people who are more qualified. We're willing to, again, someone else's strength. If someone's much quicker, you're paying for your own time, right? I do believe that when you hire people, you have to consider that it's an investment in yourself. And then we got little not rubber, from the spongy. So, let's see, what else is going on? I've got my workshop coming up on the 13th of October in Clearwater, so if you're in my area, look me up at Yoga Village, or just like we have, go to RADiculously RawThentic. We have the event, and pretty excited about it. It's going to be Mindfulness in the Moment. It's all about being the gift in the present, because we are all gifts. It's just most of the times we don't give ourselves that credit. Let me see. Yeah, the one thing I have to be careful, and this is why when you tape something off like this, when you go to pull the tape off, the last thing you want is to be pulling the grout out. So you got to do it just the right timing too, right? Yeah, here we go. I know it's going to end up happening. I will get this just the way I want it because that's just how my mind is. I'm pretty proud of the fact that I got this, put up all this tile and got as far as I did so far. Initially, what I really wanted to do was put a chandelier in the center, and I still kind of wouldn't mind doing that, but it isn't happening anytime soon. I'm not rushing that one. Love tiling, but I don't wipe grout off fast enough, I know. So you know what I have? I have this other sponge that has a little bit of a scrubby, and you can tell from the glass, it's kind of been scratched up. So it's all good. I actually don't mind once I get into this. It's a lot easier if you got bigger tiles. When you're doing the itty bitty ones though, this is much more tedious. I've definitely learned that because doing the white and all that, it's like, no problem. But these little itty bitty ones, they need a lot more attention to detail. I'm on my way. That used to be one of my favorite Sha Na Na songs. The Lion Sleeps Tonight. I loved acapella. I used to watch Sha Na Na with my dad. So I am super excited because you know what? I've just been really happy to spend some time with my dad because life is fleeting, and when my mom passed, it's really like, it's endearing to recognize that sometimes that's all you have left, and you gotta kind of really appreciate it when you got it. And so I know my dad, he's been really opening up to me lately with everything and how he's feeling, and I'm really grateful to him because I know that's not easy, but that's super healing. So, it's an honor when people really are willing to share their feelings with you. Like, never poo-poo on someone opening up to you if you think about it. That's an honor. That says they trust you. They're saying, I feel comfortable with you. I feel secure with you. So if I'm opening up to you, that means that I trust you. And that in itself is huge. So, you got to consider that because sometimes it's hard. I know for myself, I'm not always the easiest to open up to somebody. I mean, I'm grateful for my goddesses. I'm very selective about who I do open up to. I mean, I share a lot here, obviously. But it's because I feel like what I can share from my own personal experience is going to help someone else. I really do believe that. And if I'm wrong, that's okay. I don't mind being wrong. I mean, life is experience. And I'm dripping. Yeah. Really is about embracing the experience. Just go through it, you know. You won't know till you have it. Oh, just like I was saying, you know, you can't tell somebody what they should or shouldn't feel because that's their experience. And we really need to be more appreciative and less critical of other people's experiences and their lives. You know, I have these conversations with my dad, and I know it's easy to get caught up in other people's stuff and to say, why is this person doing this and why is that person, you know, the whole gossip thing. But how is that serving you? I mean, it's just taking you and distracting you from your own stuff, but the only reason it bothers you is there's something in your life that is less than. It's a comparison. Even if you don't want to say so, if you're judging someone, you're comparing yourself to them at all times. I had to kind of come to terms with that myself. That was a huge whoa. Check me out. I'm saying this about in my mind even, not even necessarily saying it in person or talking about it. Maybe I'm just having that like inner dialogue, like, wow, look at this and what they're doing, and I wonder why. And you know, we get, again, it's just taking ourselves out of our own personal experience. We give away our power that way very easily. All right, so we're not quite half done, but we're getting there. And I probably have just enough to finish this, which is awesome, because I kind of was hoping I would gauge this properly. So where these white tiles are in the corner, I'm just going to start on the bottom one. Can you still see me down here? Yeah, you can. There's a little bit of dust. That ain't gonna hurt anything, I don't think. It's all getting pushed in with the floater anyway. Look at that, more drippage. Extra grout on the floor. So on the bottom here, I hadn't quite done, there's a couple spots that actually got done when I first did this around the tub. So I am finding like some areas I still need to kind of fill in. And it gets warm when you're really like getting deep into this. Ugh. So this is a bright white, and it's really pretty when it dries, obviously, because it brings out all the sparkles and the rainbows and the prism effects, highlights all the tiles. Okay, I think that's part. I'm gonna have to get down in between there. That's gonna be a little messy. I'll wait till I have more grout on this thing. So we go this way, up. I've been just kind of touching up and refreshing some of the clear tiles so that it's all uniform. There's something about having been military and this whole uniform thing, right? Oh, you asked about my sisters. Everybody's still dealing and processing. I can't speak specifically for either one of them because I know they're going through really tough times as well as myself. We're trying to also plan. It turns out my niece is also getting married on the 3rd of November up in New York. And I'm trying to find a way to make that because I haven't seen her in a while. And you know, this thing about once you lose a family member, and especially the mom, the matriarch, I honestly really want to be, you know, like really reconnect with the family. How about that? And I highly recommend it to everyone out there. If you have anything going on, like my dad and I were talking about yesterday, the last thing we want is to live our last days like in resentment or argument or
estranged from anybody. You know, I know everybody's going through something, but it really boils down to we all want to have love in our lives. So why are we denying it just because we're caught so much up in our BS, whatever our story? And I'm also just as guilty. My life hasn't exactly been all, like I get over things. I am the first person to tell you I would hold on to grudges. I couldn't let shit go. It was hard for me. It's a lot easier now, but it still sometimes comes up where that's where my mind will go. It'll be like, it's almost like this old female self, like from past lives that has been suppressed, is just like, how dare you, right? I don't know about anybody else, if you've ever dealt with loyalty and family issues, like I grew up, it was all about being loyal to your family, your friends. So the first thing you would do is you would defend people in your life. Not necessarily that they deserved it, but it was just the premise of you're supposed to be loyal. So if you wrong me, I didn't forget very easily. In fact, I probably never forgot. It was the question of if I ever forgave you. And that in itself is a cancer. It eats you from the inside out. And I know it because I've been in my life living with a lot of dis-ease, physical discomfort. I mean, I'm dealing with it right now. It's coming up again. And whenever stuff like that's coming up for me, to me that means more growth and progress and evolution is occurring for me in my path in my life. And so I can get upset at things, but I can also calm down a lot quicker now, because it's the one thing mindfulness can do. You might lose it because you're always given that first chance. You're human, so you're allowed to have your human experience and emotion. But the moment you become aware of what has just occurred, you have the opportunity to take it back, to take back that personal power, and that's huge, right? Oh, lately, honey, I've been wanting to punch some walls, so I take it out either physically. I take the compost and I rake out the compost. If you gotta yell, it's better than taking it out on somebody, right? That's healthier. You gotta get that shit out. I'm just saying. Don't hold that in. I don't care who you are. If you hold that in, how do you think people go postal? It isn't that it just, I can't understand, he was such a good boy. Well, because you never dealt with it. You gotta find a way that is an outlet, that is a healthy outlet. Physically. Because obviously, if you get that angry, it will lodge itself in your physical body. And we certainly aren't going to heal by ignoring things and suppressing them more. So that's the only way life is going to heal that I'm finding, is that we need to have more like real conversations, like really talk about what is coming up. If someone is bothering you, don't be afraid to talk to them about it. They might not be happy about it, but you could totally change your relationship for the better. It's those hard conversations. The more you're open to making the effort, because it feels uncomfortable at first. If you're not used to communicating, you gotta step out of the old patterns, like the non-confrontation, the running away, the anger, all of that. The only way you can heal the old patterns is to consciously make an effort. And every time you make an effort, it shifts your life, right? It's like more positive impact in your life. And for the other person too, because what you're doing is giving them the opportunity and that experience of your growth and vice versa. And it enriches your life as well as theirs even that much more. Even I found the most uncomfortable conversations have created the most profound shifts and more deep relationships with my loved ones and my friends and my families. Like, I had some things happen over the past few years where, girlfriends, for example, I love my girlfriends.
but they're real girlfriends. Like my one girlfriend, she's like, I was so mad at you. You didn't return my calls, you weren't available. You know, like she totally gave it to me and I'm like, I'm so sorry you felt that way. I wish you would have said something, reached out to me. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing that you can't hold that in. Sometimes we do hold it in and then later find out that why did I hold it in, right? So you gotta be open to the possibility that whatever it is you're fearing that holds you back from speaking your truth and communicating fully and consciously, that whatever it is that's fearing, you know, lingering in your subconscious, maybe it's holding you back from speaking up, is not the truth. And you gotta challenge your mind by stepping out of that comfort zone. Because I'm telling you, that's where the real growth happens, is outside your comfort zone, right? Gosh, I know that one well. You know? Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, Ekonkar Satguru Prasad, Ekonkar Satguru Prasad. Sing. You know, I like to sing. I might not have the best voice, but I actually really enjoy singing. I especially love chanting. I think my voice has actually gotten much better than it was when I was younger. And I used to think my voice was good when I was younger, and then I was told it wasn't, and so then I felt rejected, hence why maybe I'm a little critical of my own voice, but now I'm much more accepting of it. Did anybody else get rejected and stuff like that, where you were really proud of yourself and your abilities, but then someone talked you out of and told you weren't so good, and then it just kind of caused you to kind of like close off that? I think that's huge. And possibly why a lot of people are getting angry right now. Because they've been told they weren't supposed to or be something they've always wanted to be, and they repressed it, and they shoved it down, and they shut it off, and they closed themselves off from it. So now's the time to wake up and go, you know what? I do want to be like that. I do want to experience this. I want to do this, right? Nothing wrong with stepping into it later in life. It's never too late. I don't care what anybody says. If you can dream it, you can live it. God knows I've done it. And every time I've made a conscious effort to do something, like even without the action, it starts. Because that's the thing I've learned, is the minute I decide in my mind, it's already set in motion. You just gotta believe in yourself and not let someone talk you out of it. At least but sometimes that's the hard part. Especially if you're around a lot of naysayers or people who don't hold you in your highest good. So, alrighty. Oy. Oy. Gotta get all that in there. Between the grooves in here, and everything's off cent, like there's a different level on all of this. It's a good thing I know how I wanted this to be. I literally, this kind of just created its own. When I did this bathroom, it morphed into this. I didn't just plan this. So the bathroom stall, the shower stall, and the bathtub was the first thing that got done. I went down the street. I liked these tiles. They were probably the most expensive out of all of the tiles I bought in here. And I said, okay, we're gonna do this. So I did all that. And then I thought I had enough of these tiles, the clear 5.5 inch, and it turned out I didn't. And then I go, oh man, I'm gonna have to find some other solution. So I had to kind of look around and figure out, how am I gonna do this? And then I found this vanity that I have, and it's absolutely perfect. Matches with the theme that had transpired and
evolved out of all this. And that's how I ended up doing this. With the mirror, it was perfect because the mirror takes up so much more of the wall. And I don't know about anybody else, but it's always good to have a full-length mirror in the bathroom. Hey, you should be willing to look and admire yourself naked in the in a full-length mirror. That is the true acceptance of self, is being able to be good with where your body is. Love it. It's your vessel, your soul spaceship, suit, whatever you want to call it. You only get one, right? On this life, at least. You can't just trade it in. So you should appreciate it, love it, admire it. God knows I didn't always admire mine, and I don't care what anybody says. I've heard so many compliments, and then over the course of my life, I was the last person who could take a compliment. It took me a long time for that, too. When I started accepting a compliment, I actually had to stop myself and go, this person is trying to be kind to you. You need to allow that, like, really. And it took a long time. I still get echoing cards like Buddha Prasad in my head, so I need to right now. Because it gets kind of hot in the bathroom, like I said. Oh, wow. So we still have the bottom and about 2/3 left over there. I think I might end up needing more of this stuff. Or it could be just because there's a huge gap on this side. So I'm super excited about the bikes. We're going biking this weekend. My dad's gonna come down, all three of us. We got 3 rad bikes. Dad got me one just like his. It was a great surprise, that's for sure. And hopefully the weather will be a little cooler than it has been. Carolyn told us there's a beautiful brunch and she has the most amazing gluten-free pancakes. So that's exciting. Oops. I tell you what, I'm grabbing more of the plastic sometime here. How are we doing? I hear footsteps out there. What do you think? Does it look like it's making some progress? I'll show you what I do with the I'm gonna have to stop and wipe down because it's already drying. And show you what happens next. Gotta make sure I'm getting behind that mirror. Like I said, that's the big challenge, is getting behind the beveling, because that's what I wanted to make sure I got done the best job on, at least. Yeah, I've been having some really wild dreams lately. I don't know about anybody else. Like, seriously wild. Ugh. Let's see. Yeah, Olga, this is a chore. And it takes patience, but I kind of enjoy it because it's almost done now, but in the beginning, it might not have been so much fun because I was really hot. And when I start something, I have a tendency to not want to stop. So I get kind of fixated on finishing and doing it right. I like to do things right the first time, not have to go back and fix it later. There is some touch-up work, like I was saying earlier, that needs to be done. but at least then I've already kind of scoped it. So I have pretty much a good idea on that. What are you all doing today? Any tacos? What's your dinner plans? I'm hungry. I'm always hungry. Well, most of the times. Boy, getting there. Almost on this side. And we have, just making sure I could get all these grooves in. And I'll see if I need to touch up on the bottom. Trying to get that okay. And we have, make sure, again, like this, the biggest chore is trying to make sure I'm behind that mirror. And I'm not even 100% sure I am, but the intention at least is good. It might be one big hot mess, kind of like I've been today. Sweating. Alright, so. Try to get this. Ugh. So the floor, the baseboard is done with the marble, and that in itself is also has to be done between the tile work. So I'm trying to fill that in here. And it gets a little bit more difficult at the very bottom because I'm kind of limited with how far I can go with this little float. But you do with what you got, and sometimes your finger ends up getting involved. Oh, there we go, I got it. So that's done there. Come give me a break here, right? I'm almost done, so I don't need a break, which is really good. Like I said, this is gonna feel so good when it's done. And then one last thing on the bucket list or things to do, and you know, there's something about owning a house. There's always something that needs to be done. And I knew that going into this when I bought this house. It's not my first project home, that's for sure. But my other one was a lot easier. It was a lot less that needed to be done. My vision was a little easier to work with. This one has been challenging, that's for sure. But isn't that what life is all about? Seeing if you can actually do what it is you set to do. Let's see if... Alright, so now, let's do a little bit cleanup with the sponge, right? So we started on top. You want to go back to where you started always, and it'll clean off. And it sometimes takes a little elbow grease, and you're going to be really careful you don't use too much water. That's one definite thing you have to be attentive to. Okay, so I only came down to about here-ish, and I'm gonna do. And then the more wet it is, the more you're gonna end up with that. We're gonna smooth that all out straight. We're gonna wipe this off too. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Telling you, when you think you only got a little bit to go, you got more than when you thought. But like like I said, this was the part that I knew was going to take a little bit more attention to detail, and I was pretty excited that I'm on this last part, so I wanted to share it with y'all. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you would do this. Because once you start a project, you gotta bring it to completion, right? Can't just say, oh, I changed my mind. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, she's like, yeah, I've got a couple vanities, and they're just kind of sitting, and I feel like just relaxing, and they'll get done when they get done. Sometimes that's what happens in life. Things have to wait. But you don't have to get mad about it. It helps if you can get the actual, like with the bigger tiles, it's easier to just wipe off the tiles, especially if, in this case, I have a lot of extra grout on top of them that's not on the inside. See the rainbows all over. There's rainbows all over the tub. That way you're not scrubbing, because that's what ends up happening. If you use too much grout and it's all over the place like I did, not on purpose, you end up having more to wipe off, and then it becomes a little bit more of a scrubbing challenge. So. And then, that's a lot better. Alright, now, all of this, wow, is still kind of wet. See how it goes really white? So we're just gonna rinse this sponge. Look how wet, how white that becomes. And we're using cold water, according to the instructions. Hi Maria and Christy, how's everyone doing? See, this went a little bit longer than I thought. So if that took me about an hour to do that much, it shouldn't be more than a half hour, 45 minutes to finish that last section. Because I've already done all the tile on the upper portion, and some of what I have to do is just wipe up. Like on this side here, I had finished earlier. I took the ladder out of the room because it takes up way too much. And this bathroom's a lot smaller than it probably looks. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm telling you, it's these little things in life. And I like a really fancy, sweet bathroom. Beautiful. So this initially all started because a Rad Ninja was trying to fix the door for me, and we were painting. So now we have a fixed door that shuts and locks for those who like their privacy. Look at that. Get rid of the white film. And you rinse again. So this is a constant rinsing challenge. Rinse and release, rinse and release. Just like life. I think what we're going to have to do is continue because that hasn't dried off fully. And this is about what I got left, right? So what I got left, I gotta get in here. So let's see if we can fill all this in. Let's see, what else can we talk about? You got any questions for me? What is your plan for the weekend? I already told you I'm going biking, and that I'm looking forward to. Little elbow grease. Really shows how strong you are arm-wise. Let me tell you, my biceps
and triceps. I got a little bit of tenderness in the back of my tricep. Okay, that. I think I just popped that out. That's fine. So you got to kind of go at all these different angles so you make sure you fill in the grooves, because it seems like it will sneak out of, and like I said, it'll create these little bubbles. Right. Well, if there's any type of dry stuff, it's going to flake off. I might need to actually mix up just a little bit more to finish up, but that's okay. At least I did well so far. What's your favorite color? And what color is your bathroom? Let me see here. We are just doing fantabulous. I'm really grateful this is almost done. Seriously, like really. Just another hour or so, it'll be all done. I'll be back in the groove doing that cabinet purging. It's raining? And the sun is bright and shiny. Can you see that? See, and that's what I grew up with, where it would rain, it would be sunny. Can you hear the raindrops? Raindrops are falling on my head. That's how I know it. Whatever the words are. I'm gonna fill this little spot in because it's driving me nuts every time I look over it. So this is kind of got this little spot. That's why is it not? Oh, it's why it's not filling in, because it's not a hole. It's because it's a piece of glass. See, that's the thing too. Whoops. Sometimes, because these are all glass tiles, you can't tell, but it's not as obvious. It's not a little hole, but it's the glass. Well, that's how I figured that one out. That means there's a big old rainbow outside when it's like that too, by the way. See, this is how I squirrel off of what I'm doing, is I'll look over to, and that's why I gotta be careful. Did anybody else do that? Like, I'm working over here, but I'm like looking over here going, I gotta fix that over there. That's because my mind is like, well, I wanna get it done now. There's another one right there. That's one. Then the other thing that I'm gonna have to do in here, the very last thing I think I'm gonna have to do is, and I have a couple spots up there, I just remembered. Changing out the outlet in here. I have a GFI outlet, and I'm gonna learn how to swap out an electrical outlet, because you know what? It's overdue, and this one isn't working properly. And I know I can do it. So I'm gonna YouTube, right? Find all sorts of great goodies and information on YouTube. Now there was one more over here somewhere. Where is it? This one. Don't you feel good when you finish your projects? I know I do. I think there's a couple more, but I think we're good. See, what'll happen is I'll be sitting on the toilet, and there it is. Right there, right? Can you tell you're not in the moment when you're looking around your bathroom and you're looking for stuff to fix? You're looking for distractions of whatever. That's actually another example of how we can be in the moment, in the moment, in the now, but are we distracted, right? Oh, I hope so, Robin. I don't sleep well very much. I don't really sleep much, it seems. I go through phases where I need to sleep a lot because I'm making up for all the times I'm not sleeping. So, anybody else do that out there? All right, let's finish up here. So, yeah. Our rad Ninja Tommy was putting together the rest of the last on the new rad bike we got. Let us know if you're considering getting an electric bike. I'd like to know if anybody else out there has one or is considering one. I personally never even considered it because I'm a peddler. Like when I went with my dad, he was literally leaving me in the dust yesterday. And it was so funny because I'm feeling it in my quads as I'm pedaling. I feel good today. But I was laughing because I'm like, well, I hope he notices I'm not up behind him and he's not trying to have a conversation with me. Because he's just pedaling along with zzz, he's buzzing off. And I'm like, doo-doo-doo. Have you ever seen the comedian Louis Anderson where it's a dee-dee-dee? If you know what that is, then it's pretty darn funny. My sisters and I joke about that. Is getting just the right amount of grout behind it. This all needs to be wiped down, but it's still kind of wet. At least we're getting down to the bottom of the tile there. Whoops, oh, that's not cool. We'll pick it up with our hands since we're pretty much down there anyway. All right. I mean, I could get really messy with this and it'll get in between everything, but it's still messy no matter how I do this. Robin, have you ever done this? Done any grout work? It's quite it's therapeutic actually. For me, anything where I'm physical and with creative expression, this to me, I mean, that's where I get the most satisfaction, is knowing this was my my project and I saw it through to the very finish. Maybe not immediately, but kind of had a mix of different people help me with this bathroom. I didn't obviously put those block tiles in myself. I had to hire somebody for that. And that was an interesting situation. So. Let me see if I can get this last little bit here. I got some more grout on the floor. It's really nice when I get it into these little grooves because that's where it's going to need it the most. Alright, yep, we're getting down to the bottom, so I've got probably just barely, if at all,
enough to finish this one line, and I've still got to do the very bottom strip, so I'm gonna have to go mix up some more grout. And everything's in the other room. So, what I can do is show you what I've gotten done so far, and then I will tune out and fill up and catch up with y'all a little bit later. Ooh. Let me know what you think, if you like this.
What kind of taste you got in bathrooms? Aw, thank you, Robin. You're awesome too. I appreciate you. I really do. You've been showing up for a long time now, and I know that I see you, honey. I want you to know I see you. And you were in my dream last night, and it was funny because you were riding a bike, and Tom went after you like he had something to tell you. It was the funniest thing. I'm like, what's he doing? And it turned out he went live and he was going to tell you something. It was, I don't even know what it was, but it was a funny dream. All right, life is but a dream. All right, you there? Okay. Let's try going down this again. All right, that. Let's see if I've got anything else in there. I'm telling you, I'm at the dregs. You know what the word dregs means? I remember when I was in school, and there were certain words that were kind of cool. Like, I remember asking my dad, "What's dregs?" Dregs are like the bottom sediment. And like if you have coffee or tea and you pour off all of it, the very bottom is the sediment, the dregs, D-R-E-G-S. So if you didn't know what the word meant, now you know. Alrighty, I think I just filled up what I could finish on this one. So I'm gonna go make up some more grout mix, but I wanted to show you what I've done so far. So check it out. Taking some things out of the way so you can see. And I can give you the kind of tour. So as you can see, here's all that tile grout work, right? And behind me, see now the vanity goes in here. There's a looped towel rack that goes here. This is where Mermaid Cleo goes. You see the shower, right? And this was a great find. Let me tell you, this is the coolest. I find special finds something unique. I actually think I got that either at Habitat for Humanity or like a thrift store. The hard part was finding the piece to attaching it to the wall. Now, this took a lot of work. And this light fixture, I don't recall where I got that. Maybe Habitat, because Habitat's a really great resource. And if you're gonna get rid of stuff, don't just throw it in the trash, give it to Habitat. You'd be surprised, especially old hardware and things like that. People are constantly looking for it, and you don't wanna fill up a landfill. So, the door, the Rad Ninja replaced, silver hinges, so it looks nice, and really nice hardware door handles. Look, it opens and it closes. And I don't know that you've ever seen my floor. Probably not. This is a marble I found at, again, Habitat. And what I did is I found these little tiles, and because I didn't have enough of these, I thought it would look really cool to mix it up. So I had, because it's a rounded tub, I had someone go in and put that in for me, as well as this floor. And then as you can see, up in those corners, I had the corners done and around where the vanity is, just to keep it uniform and to kind of bring it all together. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I will see you later in the group to purge 2 kitchen cabinets. I'm a little bit hot and sweaty. I love you all. See you later. Keep it raw, stay rad.